Manchester United 1, Southampton nil. We have finally won an away game in after 8 chances of trying, and we have kept a clean sheet. When last of you heard us say that? Let's get in. I am President Chad. This is Gregory, and you are tuned into the United Hour, the breakdown, where we talk about Manchester United's victory today. Liverpool 9-0. Forget that. Arsenal still top of the league, beat Fulham 2-0. Forget that. We don't have time to talk about that. We got to talk about real things. Real people do real things. Greg, how you feeling, boy?
Yo, I am just glad to see that, we've got back to back wins on the bounce. It was a good thing to see that, we followed up. We didn't, get all excited over the Liverpool win and just like stagnate. It's a good thing to see that, that we're going to progress. I mean, the football wasn't the greatest to write home about, but at the end of the day, you're away from home. It's about getting the results. That's the most important thing in a situation like that.
Correct is right for sure. My concern, was we had to follow up after we beat Liverpool. We just had to follow up, and Manchester United did follow up. Let's run through details of the game.
Mm-hmm.
We dominated. We were creating a lot of chances,
Mm-hmm.
but I think one of the things that concerned me today was we didn't a lack of penetration. We didn't create enough chances in my book. We didn't, we knocked the ball around the
Yeah.
penalty box, but that kind of penetration, that final ball, you tell yourself you have Bruno Fernandez and Ericsson on
Mm-hmm.
the pitch. We should have been getting a little more penetration. Were you concerned about that at all?
To a point. I mean, just to echo your sentiments and myself, we did have a lot of creativity in the midfield. Bruno was on. Ericsson was there as well too. We had a lot of runners going in between in different spaces. Sancho was trying his best to dribble through, but there really was a lack of penetration in a lot of ways. I mean, we saw Anthony Elanga on the right side trying to really get past. I think it was Salisu was the defender that was on him a lot, but for some strange reason, he just he would say that he was trying to be as physical as possible, but you look at Ilanga's size, you look at Salisu's size. That physical battle was never going to be something that he could have easily won. So he tried his best, and they were trying to string as much passes together as possible. But there was a you have to give credit to Southampton in that regard. They frustrated a lot. So the fact that we were able to find a way to get through them in the second half, it speaks volumes that there was a lot of determination. They were trying to work around the different instances that that they did a lot with the low blocks. Ralph tends to know that. Well, I mean, Ralph, like many other of the managers out here, would have recognized Manchester United struggles against low blocks. So he ain't trying to get an next 9-0, unlike Bournemouth today. But I think he learned his lesson from previous encounters with us, and they shut down a lot of the spaces for the runners to make. So they were always on Rashford, they were always on Sancho, they were always on Ilanga, making sure that they didn't get an opportunity to run into space. So they did their part for the most of it, but we were able to break them down, thankfully.
Yeah, for sure. Um, you know, I need to say this about Bruno Fernandez.
Mm.
Bruno Fernandez is a bitch. Bruno Fernandez is that typical pretty girl that lacks confidence, right? She attractive,
Mm.
but until somebody look at her and give her a compliment, hey, family, I really like that dress. Good, you look good, girl. You're hot, tick, tick, tick. Then all of a sudden, she just, one of those people who walk around like an ugly duckling. They're pretty, but they walk around like this. And then as soon as they get a couple compliments, you hear fling back and the chest up. I know good. It's like the transform. That's Bruno Fernandez. And I will tell you why I say this. I will tell
This
you why I say this.
this has got to be the greatest analogy I've ever heard.
I
But
we
go
are
ahead.
watching the game, 0-0, right? 0-0, watching the game.
Uh-huh.
And then I started hear them singing Bruno, Bruno in the back, right?
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, okay, Bruno hasn't heard this in a while because ever since Christie came, it's only Ronaldo, Ronaldo. And I
True.
say, you know what? This person here is going to get a chance. And he going and bury it.
Yeah.
2 minutes after, the chance still going on. Sure enough.
Lo and behold.
Bruno has had sitters.
Yeah.
Sitters last season into this season. Sitters over the bar. Left straight at the goalkeeper. Missing the whole goal like he practicing a Fred. Trying to channel his inner Fred and kick the ball onto the moon.
Now, mind you, Fred has had some
hardest.
Fred has had some better finishers in this a couple of seasons and into preseason as well too. Let's be very real.
Fair enough. But you know what I mean when I say channeling.
I get that. Yeah. I know
Fred
it.
likes when he ready kick the ball into orbit, right?
Yeah.
And one of the hardest opportunities Bruno Fernandes has had, and the man buries it in the corner. And I'm telling myself, what a little confidence is you, right? Singing, just chanting Bruno name, and all of a sudden Bruno remembers how to get into the back of the net, and
you remember who he is. Football. You remember who he is. I think in a sense, I mean, he's a bit. Calling him a bitch is a bit harsh in my books, but that's your reasoning behind it. Bruno's behavior when it comes to his finishing recently reminds me of David Trezeguet for Juventus, because during that period of time when he was playing for them, he had a knack, similarly like Bruno, for throwing away absolute sitters. Chances that most people would put away in their sleep. Chances that my 4-year-old niece would probably put away with a weaker foot, and the man would throw them away. But give him a hard chance, give him something that would look spectacular. He finds a way to bury it, and that is Bruno right now. That's something that he has to address. That's something that he needs to fix. That's something that clearly needs adjusting in training, because he needs to be someone that, especially with the captain's armband now, I don't know if the captain's armband is applying pressure on him because he wants to be able to perform and be that player that kind of leads the line in a sense. But he has to understand that sometimes you just have to take your time. Don't try and overthink the situation. The ball is coming to you. You have a line of sight at the goal. Take the shot. Keep it composed.
Before they was singing Bruno, 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 and before his shot on goal, which was an excellent finish, by the way, he was just having another stinker. I don't want to say a stinker, but he wasn't having a great game. Misplaced passes, the lack of a final product. And I'm serious, I'm not exaggerating for anybody. I'm telling you, I'm sitting here watching the game, and as soon as I hear them chanting Bruno in the back, I'm like, you know what? He going and do it now. And 2 minutes, bro. 2 minutes. With the chant still going on. Boom. The man delivers. I mean, we taking it. I ain't mad. All I saying is he need to get over himself. He need to realize he's a pretty girl and go out there and perform like a pretty girl right through.
But just to add to that, Chad, I think in itself too, it really just goes to show how much the confidence and good afternoon to Penny. This is the confidence. It can be a huge factor as regards to how certain players play, because there are players in the club that are confidence level players. If they know that they have the backing of the fans, that they know that there are people in their corner and not getting slated and abused every time they have a bad performance, sometimes that can be the extra motivation that's needed to give them that booster to be able to perform at the levels that they know that they're capable of. Because we know we've seen the best of Bruno Fernandes in this club. The season that he had in 2021, we've seen Marcus Rashford go into God mode at some points during 2019-20. We're yet to see the best of Jadon Sancho just yet, but we know that he's capable of great things. And I mean, of course, it goes without saying, Cristiano Ronaldo. The name itself is self-explanatory. We don't need to get into that as regards to that. We have players that we know that are capable of pulling out great performances. I think a lot of it is just that the morale, and then there's still some of them probably still feeling the after effects of last season. It's like, you're drunk and you're hangover from the night before, and you're still trying to sober up in a sense. So for this, for a lot of players this season, it might be the sobering up season for a lot of them. So gradually, you will see more performances, and gradually you'll see better performances. One of the players that really stood out for me, again, putting in a very consistent performance, was Scott McTominay. Because for me, since that Liverpool game, I've just watched him and I'm just like, where is this Scott McTominay coming from? Because we don't know him to be playing the kind of balls he was playing, passing to players, putting in through balls. And I mean, he even had a chance today to score as well too, and he took it quite well. But the goalkeeper was able to put a hand to it. But Scott is showing a lot of intelligence in his runs. The passing is thought out. The ideas, the way that he's linking up with his teammates. So Bruno's one of those players that still needs to catch up. I'm glad to see the improvements from Scott. I still don't think that he should be a regular starter for the team just yet. But the way Ten Hag is operating, he's giving players the opportunity to prove themselves on the pitch. If you give him a decent performance, then you're in contention to start. He's not looking at names. He's not thinking rank. He's not thinking peer. He's not thinking peer level as regards like salaries. He lend everybody get the opportunity. Hey, you want your starting spot in this team, you have to work for it.
Martinez was adjudged man of the match. Martinez, to me, looks like a revelation. All now I'm saying Martinez should be in the Premier League's starting 11 because he looks solid.
Yeah.
He looks tenacious. He's aggressive. He's everywhere. He blocked a shot with his legs, and then before you know it, he's up blocking the follow-up with a header. Martinez is really a pit bull, right? He really deserves that nickname, the Butcher.
Yeah.
So, in line with Penny's comments about Maguire,
I saw that one.
Do you think that we're going to be seeing much of Harry Maguire, in the league? I'm sure he's going to get games at some point.
Yeah. I think the way Ten Hag likes to set out his teams, he thinks about the opposition in hand. And I think we haven't had a manager that's done that for some time. Oli was one of those players that played favorites. Jose had his desired players that he wanted to pick throughout the teams. So for me, I think Eric is going to look at it and he's going to probably want to do the scouting reports. He's going to probably want to make sure that he has the players on song as regards like the system that he wants to run. And given what's taking place, so far Varane and Martinez seem to be the players that fit the system. I mean, we can look at some of the statistics from Martinez's performance today. That alone in itself tells you that this is a man that understands the system, works for what Eric wants. So you can't be mad at that in any regard because this is someone who fits everything that Eric wants to his players to do. We see a player there that is putting his best foot forward at every opportunity he gets. He's not holding back. He's not allowing his for certain individuals his height to be an issue. Because if you look at the statistics today, his aerial percentage of wins since he's been in the Premier League compared to the other defenders that are here, he tops the list with 83%. Second behind him is Kalidou Koulibaly with 75%. William Saliba of Arsenal is at 57%. Joe Gomez is 56%. Ruben Diaz is 36%. When you look at the heights of these players, William Saliba is the tallest at 6'4". Joe Gomez is 6'2". Koulibaly and Diaz are 6'1". Lisandro Martinez is 5'9". Remind me, didn't they say he was too short for the Premier League?
I tell you, all now I'm saying that he's going to be in the Premier League team of the season come the end of the season. I think he's got a lot of people, a lot of players are going to be like, nah, boy, they were in a battle when they come off the pitch playing against Martinez. Do you think he deserved that man of the match today?
I personally believe that he was consistent enough. Varane didn't have a bad game either, so I think he was kind of in with a shout. But Martinez did more of the outstanding stuff because the way he was on Che Adams today was was sensational in that regard because he made sure that he won every battle. He made. I mean, there was the one instance where the ball just kind of rolled away from him, and Che Adams took a kind of a fluff shot, but it wasn't anything to say that it was worrying. But outside of that, I can't see where Lisandro Martinez put a foot wrong. But I believe in itself, it was a very defensively sound game because I mean we came away with a clean sheet, obviously. But at the same time, it was a game where the front line of Southampton weren't really able to create as much as they would have liked to. They had opportunities to get in the box, but when they came into the box itself, they were very very frustrated as regards like clear cut chances.
To me, the other standout player was another defender, Diego Dalot. He had the assist, but he also did a very good job
Mm-hmm.
defensively wise. What do you thought about Dalot's game today?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right because I mean there were a lot of opportunities where players were looking to try and get past him, and he was if they weren't able to get the ball past him, he was basically hassling them to force them into making crosses that didn't work out. So he didn't switch off, and I think that goes into a lot of the work that Ten Hag has probably done with that defense to keep them on song because you see everybody's making sure and keeping everybody switched on. All the high fives in the back every time somebody makes a block, every time a player gets pushed out to touch to make sure that nobody gets a goal scoring chance. It tells me that the back line is communicating with each other, and that was something previously you didn't see much of. I mean, there'd be intervals where you would see probably like Lindelof and Maguire would probably talk to each other ever so often, but there would be a lot of times you would see Lindelof probably quarreling with Dalot or Wan-Bissaka, and I mean we've all seen the comedy with Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire at times, especially if you look back at the Spurs game. That was yeah. I don't think we need to go into any further detail there, but generally when you look at it, the backline in itself looks like one cohesive unit, and that is something that most title winning teams are built on. Once you have a defense that shows that they're able to be able to understand each other, it's all about being able to keep that consistency and keep that level of togetherness and understanding and recognizing. You play together. You basically you're running an offside trap. Everybody moves up at the same time. You look at those things and it allows you to be able to be a better defense.
I mean, all of the positives, apart from what you mentioned about Scott McTominay, all of
Mm-hmm.
the positives to me have to be the back line
Mm-hmm.
because Malacia is a very vocal, despite his smiles
Mm-hmm.
and his high energy, he is extremely vocal. It doesn't matter if today he was shouting behind Christian Eriksen. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter who it is. You fail on your assignment. You make errors. He is in your face. He's vocal. It that
When
is
you
the kind of recruitment nowadays we want to
when
see,
when
and that's the other standout player for me.
when you kind of look at all of Ten Hag signings, honestly, you look at them. A lot of them have leadership qualities in them because even in the way that they communicate with each other, they're not afraid to put their foot forward and understand. Let everybody know, hey, keep switched on because I have this situation coming on. Because you look at it, Martinez has a tendency to be able to lead from the front line. He'll talk to his teammates. Ericsson is Denmark's captain. Malacia, like you said, is not afraid to be vocal when need be. And then of course you now have Casemiro in there. Is it's someone who, is players that are not afraid to take the front. Martin is asking if there's room for Harry. I think, like I said, Ten Hag will probably watch the teams that he's coming up against, and he'll probably know if he needs Harry for this game or not. But like we said, the way
Of
things
course,
are,
there's a place for Harry on the bench. I expect Harry Maguire to be called up. There's a lot of football to play.
yeah,
But I mean, when it comes to the Premier League right about now, we have a lot of substandard teams to play in the
true,
Europa. He could get some starts there,
very true. And I mean,
depending on
I
who we
mean,
playing
if
in the first round of the League Cup.
mm, and I
But in
mean
the
when
league
you
right now,
mm, when you look at it too, I mean, if there's a team needing defenders, I hear Chelsea needs some defenders. They could take him in a will, they could get him for like 40, and we'll call
Chelsea
that
just
George.
paid 75 million pounds for Fofana.
Hey, they can never have too many backups.
I mean, when you hear
Oh
that kind of
god.
money jumping out for these players, that he might go on to be a great player for Chelsea, but for me, Fofana was he ain't worth 75 million. But then hey,
Of course not.
we pay 80 for Harry, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. So it just goes to show that, well, in itself, at least it shows us that we're not the only ones getting hustled into paying big money. Look what's going on there. Think about it like that.
so Alan is saying you don't change a team that's gelling. I think we'd all expect to see Casemiro coming into this team. There's a quick turnaround. Manchester United's next game is on Thursday.
Yes.
Which for people in Trinidad and Tobago, and we are going to be at 63 Lounge on Thursday afternoon to take in that game.
Mm.
Kes, before we move on to talking about Leicester,
Mhm.
Kes is saying Harry's next game will be against Fulham because Mitrovic is a handful.
I can actually see that. I can actually see that because I
Kes, I'm
mean,
watching the schedule here right now. Manchester United doesn't play Fulham until November 12th. Are you saying that you expect Harry Maguire to be on the bench from now till November, till just before the World Cup,
that's
Kes?
a
That's what
whole
you're saying?
that's a whole 3 months there.
That's a lot of bench time. That's a lot of bench time.
You
All right, so
pick it splinters out the ties when he done.
we have Leicester on
Mm.
Thursday, and then we have Arsenal on Sunday, and then we
Mm.
have the following Thursday. We have Real Sociedad in the Europa,
Europa League, yeah.
and then Sunday we have Crystal Palace. So we have for the next 3 weeks, we are playing 3 games a week, right?
Wow.
Weekend, middle of the week, weekend, middle of the week, weekend, middle of the week. So we have a lot of football to play, a
Mhm.
lot of football to play. So I expect, you know,
And as
we
much as people,
expect to have a Harry sighting at some point.
yes. So I mean, as much as people will want to leave Harry on the bench, I mean that turnover of games, you're probably going to want to rotate your squad ever so often. So
The
not
person I
everybody.
expect to definitely get some rotation as well is Ericsson.
Yes.
I'm very interested to see what we're going to do when we don't start with Ericsson. I think those games we might actually see Casemiro paired with Fred or with McTominay.
Mm.
You
And
know,
then and then we also kind of have to factor in. Well, I mean, with 4 days left before the transfer window closes, next thing you know, there's another incoming in to kind of galvanize the team a bit more, give us more depth within the squad. It may in itself allow for more rotation in that regard. Whether it's a striker, whether it's a winger, whether it's a central midfielder, that remains to be seen. But that opportunity in itself will allow the squad to be a bit fresher because now you have to really get your depth involved, and now you really have to allow your players to get more time to be up to speed with the system. So more games, more opportunities for players to establish themselves. So hopefully, if somebody has to be slipped out, it will be more of a seamless transition.
as it is right now, Manchester United are seventh
Mm.
in the league, above Liverpool, who sit eighth behind us in the league. Um, we just had to keep winning,
Yeah.
and I think we'll be in good stead. Before we shut it down, what are your final thoughts on the
Um,
performance today?
like I said, it wasn't a Manchester United performance to write home about in itself because we have to just understand, like you said, we have to basically keep winning. And Ten Hag is obviously going to want to get certain things out of his system. He's going to want to integrate Casemiro to get him up to speed with everything that's going on. So you want to be able to play the smooth transition football that he likes to play. Getting the build up is there. It's just a matter of the final third, which is where we're probably lacking the most. we really need to do that because we need to get those goal deficits adjusted. We're still in a negative deficit from what I understand because we've scored 3 goals and we've conceded 7. So it's a -4 goal difference right now for us. We need to fix that. We need to adjust that, and more clean sheets would be a huge help in that regard as well too. I'm not saying that every game has to be a scrappy 1-0 win. So we just have to basically continue to improve as we go along. And I believe once the players buy into the system a bit more, and Ten Hag keeps showing them that he's in the trenches with them as well too, it'll be beneficial for everybody because you'll have a team that's together. You'll have a team that understands that they have to fight for each other. So it's not just going to be more hero balls and more individual brilliance like it has been for the last 2 or 3 years. That's been pulling us out in the mire.
Yeah, guys. Remember to like the video. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're taking us in on YouTube. And remember to share. Get more United supporters involved. It just feels good celebrating a United victory, having a United victory to talk about, especially an away victory, and especially a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? Totally agree with Kes here. These are the types of games that we used to lose, especially within the last 6 months. Grinding out a victory in these games proves championship metal. All right,
I do believe that this is our. Sorry.
Don't go ahead of yourself there with the championship stuff, Kes. But grinding out this kind of victory is the kind of thing that we need to do, right? To reach where we need to reach. I had a conversation with one of the panelists that Liverpool would win 10-0. But United just have to win to stay above Liverpool. Yeah, no, the final score was 9-0, but Martin and I was having a conversation before Liverpool played, and he said it don't matter how much goals Liverpool score, Liverpool could score 10. Once United win, we will be above them in the league.
Well, yeah, that's always how it works because we beat them, we'll still be a point ahead of them, and gradually the games are gonna get harder. They're gonna drop points. We just have to make sure not be in that situation where they can take advantage of us.
So they didn't end up getting 10. They ended up getting 9. But the bottom line is, they score 9, we score 1, we still ahead. So that's what we had to keep doing, keep grinding all the wins. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is. Peoples, thank you very much for being part of the breakdown on the United Hour. Remember, Red Devils don't die, we multiply. Let's keep winning, people.